1, 2, 3, Roger, Roger, Roger. 1, 2, 3, Roger. Dun, dun, dun. Stream, stream, stream. Let me just check that the stream is working. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. I am from the old country. We live, we love. 1, 2, 3, Roger, Roger, Roger. 1, 2, 3, Roger. Dun, dun, dun. Stream, stream, stream. Let me just check that the stream is working. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. I am from the old country. Alright, all jokes aside, we live, we love. I have a case of sexy fingers, and I've accused friends of this. 1, 2, 3, Roger, Roger, Roger. 1, 2, 3, Roger. Oh dear. I think I have a case of sexy fingers. You know, I accuse a couple of friends of having this. What that means is everything I say to them, you got a pair of sexy fingers, and they say, what are you talking about? I said, everything you're touching, you're fucking. You right? You're fucking them with your sexy fingers. Now I just was changing things up and down, and just want to make sure that there's not too much pause going on and freeze. If there is, let me bloody know. Without feedback, you cannot improve. Just give me a second here. I just wanna test some things. Alright. Might be a case if I go back to what I settings I had before. But we'll just see how we stream for the first half an hour or so.
Our prior assault on these shores contains supplies vital to our efforts against...
Seems to lag a little bit. Okay, so we'll go for Harry Potter at the back here. Thanks, Harry. Oh, we'll hold on to that. Alrighty. We only go for the big stuff. Yeah, not interested. Oh, get carried away there. Am I close to? Yeah, I'll do 3. It's my reputation. Close.
Our troops were carried away by an Nazi to feed her foul brood. I need to target something first. It's too far away. I'm out of range.
So the Jack Pirates of the Caribbean movie had low expectations and is exactly what I thought it would be. Just a simple, straightforward blockbuster movie. That's all it was. American summer blockbuster movie. There's nothing wrong. You're not expecting too much of this. It was entertaining. It was funny. It did what it needed to do. In honest, it just did what it needed to do. The ending was good. There's just a heads up after the Pirates of the Caribbean. There is, after all the ending, all the scrolling, there is a pre-trailer.
We can now develop a reliable cure for this poison.
Pre-trailer. There is a after trailer. Not sure what it means to the franchise. I thought with the ending a lot of things were wiped, but who knows? Who knows? Let me just say that that bloody film, was at least didn't. Let's just say, compared to Alien Covenant, I felt like I went out on a date and I ended up with a tranny. At least Pirates of the Caribbean was Pirates of the Caribbean. There was no bullshit, and people weren't doing stupid stuff. It was true to its nature. Okay, and it didn't rely on highly intellectual, scientific people. Is that a light socket? Well, I think I'll go stick my finger in that, and yeah, fuck it. Or she'd kill me. Oh, I wiped everyone out. You know. But Pirates of the Caribbean, the latest one, hey, it is what it is. It was a American summer, this time of the year summer flick. You know, this is our autumn in Australia and and yeah, it did what it needed to do, and
Goldrin needs our help.
people were laughing and
Let's give him a taste of his own medicine.
they were laughing and they were entertained. Will it be a box office powerhouse? I'm not 100% sure it will, but I think it's done well in the international market. I'm hearing in America it's not done so well, but
I had a slight mishap while flying over this area. I dropped some special coins.
Whey.
Never mind. If you happen to come across them, the return would be most appreciated.
Can't believe I'm live streaming and ooh, really. Will do. Tim Big Boy out. No, you don't. Yeah, so Pirates of the Caribbean, it's not a 10 out of 10 film. It's a simple summer flick, 6 out of 10. Does its job. And Alien Covenant, oh good lord. If you don't want to know any spoilers about Alien Covenant, just the start. About writing scripts and setting up characters, let me just put this to you. Okay, yeah, look, I can handle some of the start. What I would do is take away some of the stupidity, or making, like... It's in a way, that start of the film, it's like saying, jumping back in time to the Titanic, and you're the captain of the Titanic, and the alarm bell's been rung, and your crew tell you, sir, there appears to be icebergs off and to a right, or, you know, there's some dangerous, there could be a dangerous situation to a right, we're not prepared for it. But if we take this huge ship and we sort of, you know, zip it through all these things, you know, let's just do it. And, you know, the captain doesn't, guess what happens? You get sunk anyway. You know, you go, and then you hear the news, Titanic struck by 15 icebergs and sinks, and everyone's dead, no survivors. It was a freak accident, you know, it happened as it happened. So the start of the film, when the spacecraft and everything's hit by this, like, sun pulse or whatever it is, and it fucking wrecks everything and wakes people up and all the rest of it. What probably should have happened is that part is good. As I said, the graphics of it, the way it was delivered, the presentation. What should have fucking happened is they're trying to fix the ship. Maybe the damage was more drastic, right? It was more deadly than what it was. It was like you either stay where you are and die. There's no way, you know, just say you've taken, you know, fuel tanks are bleeding, you know, there's some serious damage. You've got to find land, and you've got to make the stupid tough decision. And as you're going through this, send out our scanners, fire off, you know, and the only reason they detect what they detect is because they're in that location. That would have been more plausible and believable than, hey, the dude's outside and he's got something and they're playing it, and it's just, I don't know, it's just, yeah. I think a better story, keep it simple. They get hit by this space incident. It does the damage that causes you. That it's either you do or you die. Not, hey, well, we're gonna go off the wandering path. We don't care. Let's give a fuck about thousands of people and sleep. You know, it was just a stupid situation, and maybe as they're getting close to the planet, things are deteriorating fast, and the ship crash lands on the fucking planet. Okay, it crash lands on the fucking planet, and the pilots, I mean, they pull out a miracle. They lose a couple of people and everything, and it's upset. They crash land on the fucking planet. The signal's coming up strong. You know, the ship's full of colonists and everything like that, and they've got to back the decision. Hey, the ship's crashed. We've lost 10% of the people asleep. We've lost 10% of a crew. Oh fuck! Look, let's start waking people up. The ship's fucked. It's cracked its hull. This is home now, unless someone comes and rescue us. Shit, let's resolve a few issues. And then the team goes, look, while that's happening, let's suit up, let's get armor up, space helmets on, and we're still getting that fucking signal from the start of the film. You know, we're still picking up that, not a distress signal, but a warning. You know, well, I think it was a distress signal. Hey, come and get me, sort of situation. They said, right. So, meanwhile, half the crew stays behind and starts reviving the people that are asleep, and the other half crew, fully armoured. Maybe you got, you know, what you call in Star Trek the red cloak, red shirt guys. You know they're going to die. Fully armoured, everything. Everyone's like armoured to the teeth, hardcore weaponry and things like that. And they go out there, and through just making tough, intelligent decisions, situation presents itself that they run into one of these neomorphs. And it's so powerful that what it does is attacks and damages the helmet, and then that causes the spores to get in, shatters the helmet like that. They kill it, but a couple of the crew have had their helmets damaged because the first thing the neomorph was trying to do is rip the helmets off and cause damage. And like I said, from there it gets in, and it's probably not as fast, and it's not as fast working as it is because the reality. And I know I'm playing Warcraft and I've gone right into this movie, but hey, we'll talk while we talk. The reality of the first Alien film, I saw that as a very young kid. I had a grandmother who but loved horror films. I saw some of the zombie films, you know, I was very young, like 6 years old, something like that. Maybe no more than, 8, maybe it's too old, at least around the 6-7 mark or something like that. Old enough to know what the fuck and shit my pants and Aliens, watched Aliens at that age, and it was a scary film. And the thing about Aliens is that guy gets that thing on his face, he gets it in his stomach, they bring him on board, they break quarantine rules, and he seems to be fine, and oh great, and then 12 hours later he's at breakfast, oh yeah, no, and then kaboomba. And the same sort of thing should have happened here. The infection gets in, they get back, you know, let's just say they've killed the neomorph, they're like, oh fuck, shit, that was close, we nearly lost everyone, shit, the humans have been here before, fuck it, look, this place is dangerous, let's get back to the fucking ship. And they get back to the ship, and everyone's fine, and all the rest of it, and as they're getting back, someone in the background, you get on the radio, hey, it's Jim here, I'm not feeling too well, I'm sweating, I might have a bug or something, yeah, come up to the bug, and just start painting the picture, and just slow the pace up and everything like that. And then you're waking up more people and more people and more people. And then what happens is you have the film start, you know, neomorphs bursting out and going on, and then the film starts playing on from there. And I'd rather see humans like all their best weapons of the modern technology at that particular time, you know, weapons, armor, whatever. And these aliens are so much stronger and smart. I want to see highly intelligent creatures. Like, I want to see where they set up traps, right? Like inside the ship, they would have set up traps. Like, we'll force it through airlock 4, and the alien's wandering through. The alien knows what's going on, and he goes, he can sense he's getting funneled. and he turns around and does something because of his incredible strength, smashes his way through another way, and comes in behind everyone, and as I was just saying, you still lose people. Okay, just. I'm just messing with stream settings here. Oh. Yeah, and I won't.
Needs our help. A demon decided to cheat the hunt by bringing in backup. Let's give him a taste of his own medicine.
Right. Yeah, no. Thanks, honey.
Hero, I had a slight mishap while flying over this area.
Yeah, so I won't go in the rest of the film because if you haven't watched it or whatever like that, but I'd advise seeing, if you're going to see it at the cinemas, just go on here in Australia we have Cheap Tuesdays. I'm sure that's worldwide. I believe, presume. Well, they seem to go a lot further. In Australia, one thing about Australia that Australia has a better standard of living than the United States, the average person. Like the biggest issue I find with America is that, like here in Australia, the average person gets a full-week annual leave. There's a lot more support for humanity, for families. We pay higher taxes. It's we do have a national health system. You do get looked after. I got badly injured in a mining accident. I don't want to go into all those details. It's from long ago, and I had private health insurance. Family had private health insurance. So we were told it would have cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars and rely on the public system. And yeah, look, they did the job, but I suppose I could have had more input and certain things could have been done certain different ways. But which potentially saves ourselves an absolute fortune in dollars and cents. Let's just say it was touch and go for myself, Boober Valve. But so what I'm getting at, not bagging the states or anything like that, but what I'm trying to say is, in general, Australia has a better standard of living, like the Scandinavian countries. I think it's the Scandinavian countries and New Zealand and Australia. I think then Canada for quality of life, and because I think it's population, and I think there's an issue with.
Vermin harvest ore for their furnaces.
Like to me, there doesn't seem to point to a certain population of a city. Once you get to about over 2 million people, it just gets to the point of too fucking expensive. But we have monopolies here in Australia. What that means is simply a movie industry. Like I can go to the cinema here in the CBD of Brisbane, which is the heart of the city.
The Illidori cannot be stopped.
And here in Australia, you tend to want to live as close. Not everyone, but in general, house prices go up the closer you live into the city. And cheaper further away, unless you bigger and bigger land. Like I said, when I was travelling overseas, people go, "Oh." So asked me where I lived, and I said, "Oh, look, I live in a city," and they said, "Oh, how can you afford to travel?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And it was Americans, and they perceive inner city to be poor, whereas in large Australian cities, you tend to pay more for living closer into the city.
You have hindered the Legion's war production. If only brief.
So here, inner city Australia, it'll cost you $26, around $20 to $26 to go to into the Myer Centre to go to the cinemas there, where they're all flashy, up-to-date cinemas to see a film. And just slightly outside the CBD, a smaller chain, they'll charge $10. Okay, it's certainly not the same seating and quality picture and sound and all that sort of stuff. There is a noticeable difference. But if you're taking your partner, and then you have like things like gold class and upper class things, and everyone's got that functionality or whatever. That's you spend a fortune, but just a standard cinema. Yeah, so Australia has an issue with monopolies. We have two major telcos. We do have Little Fry, but they're basically using the same infrastructure. We used to have three main, what we call pay TV or cable operators for TV stations here. And the history of it goes like this. Because they were linked to both of the two big telecommunication carriers, which is Optus and Telstra. And anyway, Optus started building a cable network through Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane, which is 80% of the population lives. And the short version of it is they started spending money to do that. So of course Telstra was the giant in the industry. They were considered the 800-pound gorilla. So they started competing with building a cable network. So suddenly, and this is back, I think in the 90s, late 90s, mid to late 90s, something like that. I think it's costing a couple of $1 million or more, several $1 million. No, not 7 million, several billion. It cost, it might have been at least $400 million or something. And at that stage, and so they built enough of the network to cover about 80% of the population, which is Melbourne, Brisbane, and Sydney. And then they launched their own pay TV channels. So you had Foxtel, and you had which is 50% owned by Fox, which is Rupert Murdoch, and the remainder was owned by Telstra. And then you had Optus Vision TV, and it had its own rival stations and things like that. And then you had I think you might have had two Outback or regional TV stations. I forget their name. Oh God, what was it? And then their HQ was Gold Coast. So long story short, eventually what happened is the Optus mob nearly went bankrupt, and they were about to pull out of the complete market for everything because it almost bankrupted them to compete. They ended up buying basically Foxtel and rebadging it as Optus Vision. There was no difference between Foxtel and Optus Vision. They showed the same shit almost, slight differences. And then eventually what happened is that Foxtel ended up buying out the regional competitor for a couple of $1 billion. I have no idea why. And effectively now you just have one pay TV service in this country. Okay, now you've got things like Netflix and Stan and some other streaming things, but time and time again this is the Australian issue. And at the moment Australians are facing another big issue is our federal or state governments and federal governments, because everything's short term. Politicians want to have money and say, look, they want to build infrastructure, they want to win, they want to show people they can get jobs, create industry, whatever. So, and because they want to get elected for the next election, and they're not thinking 10 years down the road, they're not thinking 20 years down the road, they're thinking, well, I've just had 3 years in power, I want to be elected for another 3 years, possibly 9 years, 10 years of my life, and then I'm on the pension gravy, I'm getting this 100, 200 grand pension the rest of my life if I can stay in Parliament that long. And so what they've done, they've sold electrical infrastructure in a couple of our major states, and guess who's ended up buying them? The investment arms of Singapore and a couple of other international national governments. And what's happened over the last 5-10 years is the price in 3 years the prices have gone up by 100%, and now you've got big businesses, mining companies and smelters and all that threatening to pull out of Australia because the cost of, because these are all very energy dependent, and we've had the biggest gas reserves ever in the history of the world. We should be the powerhouse in gas, but we're shipping it all overseas, giving all Southeast Asia cheap gas, and then saying there's no gas here in Australia and charging double. So now everyone's paying, instead of being energy rich, we're now getting charged double or 3 times as much as we were 8 years ago, and businesses are talking about shutting down towns and shutting down mines and shutting down smelters because we're getting fucked. And this is the short side. It's a bit more complicated than that, but so Australia has a lot of positives, but you know we're doing well at fucking it all up. But anyway, let's get back to the game. Got too serious here, talking business. Let's move on. That's why we play the game. Just get away from it all. Hey.
You need something? See you around.
Right, just going to change to my demo spec because I'm very close to getting a my next. Jesus, 2.3 million. Jesus fucking Christ. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look at the thing. Anyway, I'm just gonna wanted to get my demo spec up to a certain standard. Oh. Oh, helps if I click buttons. That doesn't take much at all. Beautiful. I'll lock those later. Oh. What am I pressing here? Fuck's sake. I'm gonna have to quickly look up because I've got my trait 52 trait in my Affliction Warlock million, and I know this is going up 2.3 million percentage. Fuck's sake. But I don't understand. I'd have to click to see what that becomes. It goes up to 8,000 for 10 seconds. I don't know. All I know is I haven't really noticed any difference, and I think that's fucking shithouse. Some sort of special effect needs to happen. I need to fucking some sort of magic explosion, something that should stand out. It's just fucking shithouse. Like I don't even notice it. I'd have to look at logs to notice when that's kicked in, or I have to have an add-on that tell me, hey, it's fired off. So anyway, enough bitching. Okay, let's just look at the map. Photographs and PvP boots. Is there anything else I'm interested?
I've sacrificed everything. What have you given?
I'm a warlock. You took all my shit, demon hunter. I actually thought 7.2.5 might have dropped because I think I've liked some of the new changes for Affliction coming through. I haven't checked the latest PTR. I might have to have a fiddle, and I've got to get back into full-time raiding. I'm just my ligaments in my right hand are getting stronger and stronger. I'm able to do weights and boxing and everything again, which means being right-handed. I have semi used my left hand a lot, but I can't play games. Can't coordinate as well. I'm not ambidextrous. Plus, it's a right-hand. It's a what do you call it? Corsair multi-button. You know, you got, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 16 odd buttons on the side for a right-hander. Don't think I can swap it any which way. And I've got to get my honor I've got to get back into PvP. What's my honor? So we're at prestige level 1. Yeah. I want to get to prestige level 1 with 50. So I can pick up the artifact skin. I'm toying with doing the, it's just come online, the new one, Broken Shore. Artifact skin. I'm now over 900 eye level, so that should make it easier. But I don't know. I'm a bit burnt out because I went after the demo ones. I've got the other ones, and it was a lot of work and grind. You know, I'm just like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'm over it. It's I suppose I killed a lot of creatures to get the Affliction one, and then it's not so good. Anyway, let's move on. Just gonna accidentally clicked off and click back on. Alright, let's do this.
An assassin's work is never done.
rogues. I didn't see you there, big boy. Oh. Reminds me of the Undercity.
To the Forsaken. Vengeance moves with the Gilneas.
Change heart part. So normally at this time, it's 7:30, 8 o'clock. Used to always put on hot pots. Not at this time. A couple of hours as soon as you get home from work, all the missus did. Alrighty. Okay. Oh, well, better go kill Deadly Jim. Kill Jim. I should do some world quests to finish off things, but I won't do that tonight. Oh. Oh. How fucking high did I go up? Sweet Jesus! Right, let's not get too carried away. Now, the first time and ever, if you're not Australian or New Zealander, we have a very big sporting event. It's the equivalent of the American, what do you call it? Super Bowl. It's called the State of Origin, and it's effectively 3 games. And that's on tonight, if my brain is correct. Now, normally I'm at a pub What the hell? So basically it's State of Origin, and basically it's a rugby league game that was formulated between the two states of Queensland and New South Wales. The history of the rugby league game is a bit different. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best sporting events in the world. And it's played over 3 legs, and you win 2 games, you're the champion. The the history of the game goes back into the 70s and 60s. Now, the two states obviously bordered each other, Queensland and New South Wales. And on the border of New South Wales and Queensland, they built a casino, because in Queensland, casinos and sex industry and drugs and all these other things was all illegal, and you couldn't have them. So, but you walk 2 feet over an imaginary line, and they were legal. The short version of it all is that there were 2 states that majorly play rugby league in this country. Is Heartland is the state that has started all was New South Wales, Sydney and surrounding districts, and there's so many clubs in Sydney. It's like London's English Premier League. There are a lot of London football clubs. A lot of the big rugby league clubs are in Sydney. And there was 2 main competitions. There was the New South Wales League and there was the Queensland League. Now, the New South Wales League had more money in it because the population was near enough double or treble. But the rugby league clubs had poker machines and gambling, and they generated a lot of revenue. And that allowed them to be able to pay for players. So back when it was sort of semi-professional, semi-amateuristic, the best of the best Queensland players would all go down to New South Wales. Instead of working in a bar or a pub or whatever they did, they become full-time rugby league players, earn just enough money to support themselves and play the game. And what would end up happening is when they would pick the state representative sides, the history over the last while was half the New South Wales team would be picked of players that were born and bred in Queensland. And these New South Wales teams would come and play us, and it was not right. They'd thrash us. That the best of the Queensland players were all basically playing for New South Wales, another state that they weren't born in and they shouldn't be representing. And what happened for many a year is New South Wales thrashed the living shit out of us, because effectively anyone with talent and wanted to play rugby league professionally would go to the bigger city. At the moment, I think the population of Sydney is around 4.5 to 5 million people. I think the average home in Sydney now is like $1 million. Population of Brisbane is about 2 million, and the average home is about 500,000, 4 for 500,000. Scales of economy and size, all that crap. So a plan was drawn up, and it was called the State of Origin. Now, what that meant was you could be born and bred in New South Wales, but if you played your first school I think it's age 16 or upwards, sort of the representative game for Queensland, then Queensland could call on you as a Queensland player, and or vice versa. If you were a Dinky Die Queenslander, you're born and bred in Queensland, and you played all the right level of games from 15 upwards, and then you moved to Sydney because of the money, and you became a superstar in Sydney, Queensland could call on you because your state of origin was Queensland. There have been a few players who, funny enough, ended up playing for Queensland over the last 20 years, who technically were born in New South Wales, but because of their first, what is the right word? Selective game, categorised them as Queensland selection. So there's Greg Inglis, there's a few other players. So anyway, this State of Origin instead of it just being New South Wales versus Queensland, it became the state of origin. And the state of origin, pardon me, the state of origin was born, and it became the ultimate 3-game grudge match. There was fists, and because it was Queensland, it was mate against mate, because a lot of these players ended up playing with each other, sometimes playing for the same team. But when it came down to Queensland versus New South Wales, and there was a history at the start of the origin that Queensland was out for revenge, where it was always the underdog, because the population is just that New South Wales always had double our population, or in the early days it was always treble our population. So in that theory, they should be able to have better players and they have more money. And the thing, as I said, that upset rugby league and a lot of Queenslanders is that there were times where New South Wales teams back in the day before the state of origin would have all our superstar Queenslanders playing for New South Wales, and it was a joke. And now it's it's been balanced on where you're born, where you're playing your first game, and what's happened. And it's a contest that it's been, I guess, at the start it was a bit of Queensland had the upper hand for a while, and then it sort of flicked New South Wales way for the next 10 years, back and forth, and it just got to the point, I guess, back in 2005, 2006-ish. I think New South Wales run the seasons 2 years in a row. You know, we were on the edge of like Queensland. It could be a whitewash for the next 10 years, and Queensland was very vulnerable. Anyway, what happened was an incredible arrival of some new stars, fresh blood into, step up and then selected for Queensland, and we went with a lot of youth and talent. And effectively, over the last 11 years, so 2016, 2006, 2005, roughly 2005, 2006, Queensland has won 10 seasons out of 11. So this is season 12 now, and we've got some of those stars now reaching the end of their, lifespans in their early 30s to mid 30s. That there's some combinations that have been playing for fucking 10 years and that have just been way too good for the New South Wales sides. So whether you can, I don't know, pirate or stream it or whatever, or download it, State of Origin, and it's Queensland versus New South Wales. There's a lot of passion, a lot of drive. 3 games, the best of 3, and each year it swaps who plays first. And I was probably meant to be at the game. I was in the city all today, busy with work. Everyone's walking around in jerseys.
Our enemies outnumber us. We have need of your skills.
And I've got a bug or a flu that it's just not going away, and it's highly because I've been getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going to bed at 2 o'clock in the fucking morning, and it's probably because I'm not drinking. If I was drinking spirits and rum, probably be fucking great. Come on, where's this? This mob. Alright, big boy. Alright, let's go kill Jim, the world boss. Now, apparently he drops a trinket that has 860, 800 plus stats for about 5 major stats. Apparently, even at 860, it's still considered to be a very good trinket.
Bad enough that Naga and demons invade our home. Now these Makrura plague our shores. We must find out what dark force is driving them to madness. Will you help? If the Sea Giants wish to ally with the Naga, then they have become our enemy. Champion, show them that the Highborn are not to be trifled with.
Show them how we deliver justice.
Yeah, Jim?
It's too far away.
An efficient kill. Most admirable.
Ah. Oh yeah, that's it there. And that bastard got it. 8. The hell? Stuck on a stick. Yeah, so I got this ring, I think. Yeah. Thanks, Jim. You prick.
Cannot command
So guys, I just up the string quality to 1080p just to see how it looks. I was running at 720, 30 FPS, 24 FPS. I just want to whack it up to 1080. All right. Oh, just bear with me. I'm just going to go on Icy Veins and just play what we. Hang on, I might just change the Wow, I've just... Please tell me I'm wrong here. Please tell me I'm wrong. I've just gone to the Icy Veins. On artifact weapon builder or calculator. So I was just trying that out. 670 million, 676 million artifact power I need, and I've already got one in the Legion. What is it? Sorry, what's it called again? Concordience of the Legion Fall, or should that be Legion Fail? Okay, so one proc 1 in it gives me a chance of getting, I think it's Intel, 4,000 for 10 seconds. 676 million gives me 4,300. 880 million. What? Yeah, 880 million gives me 4,600. Okay, at 27 it's 11.5 or 12,000, sorry. So 3 times as much. So do you just, I think statistically, unless you're prepared to grind, you're going to do a big grind. So that's 676 million, 880, so that's at least $1.5 billion. The third point costs you 1.1 billion, so you're looking at 2.5 billion in for 3 points, and you get 4,600 for an extra 600. That's statistically not worth it. The next one costs you 1.4 billion, sorry, so you're up to nearly 5 billion. Oh god, 1.97. So around the 10 billion mark, you have 10 billion artifact power. You get 5,800. See, that's ridiculous. See, this is my whole thing against the artifacts, is that I reckon there's, getting an extra 12% or 16% shadow power will be fucking dopey. Just give it 1 or 2, make it really good. Now I'm also trying a new add-on called Immersion. So when I click,
Welcome. Watch your back.
it doesn't do anything.
Hello.
Do you have any artifact research already prepared? No.
Dark Lady, watch over you.
So I've got the maximum artificial artifact power. Okay. Seems not many Warlocks here tonight. They must be watching the rugby. The State of Origin. I don't need you, mate. Thanks, bud. So I've got 20 million there. I might as well get my destro up to that minimum level. Oh, I'm just short.
Need help? For the Alliance.
Alright, well, I might take a little bit of a break, see the start of the game, and keep messing with my streaming settings. As I said, we've been able to get double our upload speed, but still need at least double what I got to get even higher quality. But hey, it's what you... It's a long story. We'll let it be. So thanks for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. There's been a handful of you. Streaming, I'm going to try to stream as much as I can, and try to keep the quality and the version of the stream where it's at, or improve it as best I can. Financially, I've got the dollars if I need to or wanted to go out and get the best service. I've had cable internet. As I said, I've got 100 meg download. It's never faltered. I've had it for 10 years. It's been the number one rated performance internet in Australia. Unless you're prepared to go into business and spend, stupid amount of money, several $100s a month or more. Again, can afford that, but not. I'm someone who built businesses and things like that, and I always, there's a certain pleasure of building something up from letting it organically. I've had a close friend win Lotto or God Lotto, and I'm not using this as a justification what I do, because it's just how I am. I follow a club called Tottenham Hotspur. They've done the same thing over the last 10 years. They've invested and built the club up organically, whereas other clubs have had like Russian oil and gas oligarchs come in and spend $1.5 billion on players and 2 to 3 billion on wages since 2004, and of course they've won 4 or 5 titles. And yeah, it shows, but not everyone can afford to spend $4 billion on your team. And going back to my friend, he won a reasonable amount of money on Gold Lotto. He never told me exactly how much, but it was, let's just say it seems like it was a few $1,000,000. I never ever asked him for money, or never presumed that. I never changed the way I interacted with him. He said to me, "You're one of the few," and he said that this is why I've always come back to you and talk to you, because you're one of the few that you always try to be who you are. I said, so many people latch onto me, and now that he doesn't have the money, those people, they don't even talk to him anymore. So the short version, what happened to him, he won some money. He relocated into Brisbane. I'd known him for a long time. Bumped into each other through just shit happens, one bar or something. He noticed he had done very well for himself. I thought, what have you been doing? And noticed that the car he was driving, the house he was living in, the places were a little bit more down the salary I expected him to be on and be able to afford. And I said, well, have you been sticking anything in the books or something or whatever? And short answer, he acknowledged he won Gold Lotto. I didn't think anything. I think I was too busy in my own world. That's me. That's my great strength and great weakness. Is I too focused on being myself, and sometimes I don't always pay 100% attention. So I was like, "Yep, thumbs up to you, congratulations to you." Not thinking it was multi-millions of dollars. Didn't think that. He didn't. He then sort of launched a business in the field that he was in, and what he used. He didn't win tens of millions of dollars. He won. It sounds like he won several $1,000,000. And what he did, he went out and he leased a very expensive property in the heart of the city. He went out and headhunted and doubled the wages of some really talented people to come work for him. And they all jumped on board and came work for him. And I guess what he tried to do very quickly is create a name and a brand for himself as a business, but he was spending far more money than he was making in. And even though he had gotten some of the best people from some of these other businesses, they probably weren't as good as he thought they were. But let's just say, let's not throw it like that. Let's just say there was a bit of everything going on. It was a case of, businesses have, what's it called, a burn time. They got investment funds. At the current burn, they're going to only last this long, and they need to hit certain markers down to get more funding or whatever. So his business, he got to a point where he got shit happening and money was coming in and all the rest of it. The only problem is he'd paid so much to get some of these people in, and he leased and everything. He was spending far more than he was coming in, and he was building a good business, and on paper it was making good money, but he was paying huge amounts of dollars in wages and salaries and bonuses and stuff. And he did that because he stole some really talented people from some bigger players, and he probably did it slowly and built slowly, but he wanted to achieve certain things within a couple of years. Let's say the short version of the 5 years. 3 years on paper, he looked like a rock star, and then reality set in that the guys working there realised that money was starting to get tighter, and they noticed this, and they all stayed there, and because it was an easy, and they're getting good money, double what they're on. And when they knew they reached that point of he had to sell his house, he had to sell everything he fucking owned just to keep his head above water, they jumped ship, and they took most of their clients with them. And he nearly ended up bankrupt, and now I'm not sure what he's doing for a living. But he had to go. He swung his bat, tried to hit a home run. And that's life. But hey, never give up hope. As I said to one of the women, she contacted me to her business. She was in her 60s, early 60s, and she was telling me that she was depressed. She wasn't ready to slow down in life. She still wanted to live life. She spent the last 20 years of her life, since she was 30, so nearly the last 30 years of life, traveling the world, partying, having a great time, doing everything you can possibly do, having kids, getting married, building businesses, all these crazy things. And now she was in her 60s, later 60s, 67, and she says, Dean, my brain, she kept herself, she was in really great shape. You wouldn't think she was 67. You might think she's 50, and a very good 50. And she was just like, because she lived a very good life. She'd eaten well, high quality food, good food, very, yoga, everything. She was very, very tight. That is very tight. And she's very, very tight. And, and she turned to me and she said, but she had all resources tied up in like 3 or 4 businesses. She wanted to do things because she was getting to a point she realised that her body, she couldn't do it at the same what she was doing. I said, look, this is what I told her. I said, look, when I was travelling around Australia, I took some time off, travelled around Australia, and I met some guys, and they said to me, and then I went overseas, and some guys, oh, you did it the wrong way. You don't travel around Australia. You do all your travelling overseas, and then when you get older, travel around. I said, listen, I ended up travelling through did all the capitals, did everything around Australia, and I said in my 20s, late 20s, and so forth. I said, the way you're talking, I should do it in my 60s. I said, I can't walk into a nightclub or bar in my 60s. You know, if I am, I'm walking into an old folks' home or something. I said, you only got one life. I'm this age. I'm living it. I've done all that. Great. And then I've taken off overseas and did that. Now, the thing about what she said was she on paper, she was worth a lot of money. And, but cash flow, it's like a retiree, here in Australia, I guess around the world. We've got some people in the coast, they bought a house, you know, they've been retired for the last 20 years. And they bought a house for X amount of dollars back 20 years ago, and in today's money, it's worth say $2 million. And they paid like $300,000 for it back in the day. The thing is, they go, look, I want to keep my house. I want to stay in this area. If I sell my house and I want to stay in this area, I have to, you know, if I sell the house for $2 million. To buy the same sort of style house, even a downsize, it's still going to cost me, you know, a lot of money. And I said, yes, that's, you know, and that's the thing. She's getting to the point where she had all this money invested in businesses, and as soon as the money come in, she got a good wage, paid everything out. And I jokingly said to her, and I've just seen it on the news, I said, this old fella this 80-year-old bloke just won $30 million here in Australia. And he'd been a battler all his life, up to 80 years of age. 80 fucking years of age. He never had enough money, but he got married. He had 3, 4 kids. His kids have had kids. You know, they helped him get houses. You know, they worked together as a family. All the rest. They were battlers. In Australia, we have this Aussie battler. And, you know, he got by. You know, he didn't drive a Mercedes. He didn't have a BMW. He didn't have a flash suit or whatever. But he always had enough to get by. And I said to her, well, look, you're 67. This bloke's a battler. He's probably done half as much as you in life. Doesn't make him less a person than you or whatever. And I said, look, at 80 years of age, he just won $30 million. So never give up. Just hang into 80. And she just looked at me like, fuck you. Fuck you. And I said to her, well, and shit can happen. You know, tomorrow you could fucking go, fuck it, go and buy a ticket and you win $30 million. Okay. And I bet you for 79 years of his fucking life, that man never thought of it. And he wasn't a regular lotto buyer. From what I heard, he buy on and off like most normal people. And he gets to the age of fucking 80, when his life is basically in the twilight of his life. He knows every day that he wakes up is a bonus because he's past the average death age of 72 or whatever it is in Australia. So at 80 years of age, he's like, you could go any time. You know, a simple flu could kill you. So he's 80 years of fucking age. His kids are probably in their 50s. And his grandkids are probably in their 30s. And now he's just won $31 million. And probably creates a lot of problems for him, but also gives him a lot of happiness. But as I said to her, he's a battler up to 80. I said, never give up. And she wasn't crying poor, sulking or sucking. And we all like to have her feel sorry for ourselves. But she was just like, my accountants are telling me I'm going to retirement phase. I'm 67. She goes, what's the point of getting old if I've got to slow down? I said, she knew she couldn't. She was a very fit person, and she was always doing runs and cardio and things like that. And even strength, a little bit of strength stuff. And she goes, every couple of years I notice I can't do what I used to do, or if I do it, it's taken a lot more out of me to get that. And I said, yeah. Well, I said, look, you are here, and this is the thing we forget about. I said, if we didn't pass away, we probably wouldn't have this change. You wouldn't be where you are because you wouldn't get the opportunity. Life creates opportunity because that you can't have everything. You know, can you imagine being 20 years old and there's all these immortal people in front of you who never die, and they don't want to give you opportunity? Things are created, opportunities are created. That's how it works. But anyway, I'm off to watch the football. I thank you for your time, and I've rambled on a bit today. Been a bit drinking in the city and have a great time. So, I'll be back. Hasta la vista, baby.